November 13th, 1887. Clashes between protesters and police in London lead to this date being commemorated as Bloody Sunday, not to be confused with the Bloody Sunday in 1900, or the Bloody Sunday in 1905, or Bloody Sunday 1911, 1914, 1916, 1919, 1920, 1921, the other Bloody Sunday in 1921, 1923, 1926, 1932, 1939, 1941, I assume will fade out at some point, 1943, 1965, 1969, 1991. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And joining us, making their debut on the show, please welcome Joe Lee, everyone.
Hey.
Joe, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And this is the first episode of the year, I think, where we're fulfilling our annual tradition.
This is one of the last episodes of the year.
No.
Brian,
Let me finish.
This is our annual Thanksgiving episode. That I'm Zach Pumpkin Piers. My Thanksgiving pun name. Are we doing those for Thanksgiving, or is that just Halloween?
I'm Corn Brian.
That's just your normal name.
No, yeah, it's true. Man, there's nothing really good for Flynn that is Thanksgiving related. Listeners, if you have an idea, please write it on a piece of paper and throw it in the trash. No, this is the first of our annual traditional one of us is on cold medicine episode.
Yeah.
And it's not me this time.
Listeners, I have a lot going on. One, I'm on cold medicine. I have a bad cold. It's not COVID. I'm sneezing and sniffling. I'm not coughing and not able to taste. It's different shit. But nonetheless, I'm on cold medicine. Number two, I have a new kitten who may or may not make kitten noises, but is currently like resting over there. And number three, I'm on cold medicine. I forgot what number three was, but I'm sure there was one.
Oh, I'm sure I am honestly shocked that having a baby, I've not been just mainlining Dayquil at this point. But also, yes, Gizmo, the adorable kitten, will hopefully be making an appearance, because that would absolutely make my night.
You should mainline NyQuil.
Oh my God, if only. I feel like I'm scared to do NyQuil now, because I sometimes still need to get up in the middle of the night, because sometimes a baby just shits up her own back, and we have to change the sheets and move apartments. But listeners, oh wait, Zach, sorry, you're hosting this time. Sorry.
Oh yeah, if you're new to the show, this is a comedy history podcast in which we take a person or an event from history, and one of us presents sort of the government sanctioned sort of Ron Chernow boring ass type story of that event, and another person gives us the secret deep down underground buried with the Mormon golden tablets version of that event. And at the end, we vote on what becomes the true history of this brilliant blue iridescent NyQuil colored marble we call the Earth going forward. And that's basically the premise. You've just missed our Halloween series. They're probably still available unless something happened.
What would have happened?
Did you find this on an iPod after the apocalypse and this was the only episode? They're probably not available. But otherwise, you could probably find them.
And you opened it thinking it was the Malcolm Gladwell podcast? Yeah, it's not. He is not here.
He's probably dead in your timeline.
In your timeline.
As are all of us, most likely.
Yeah.
But regardless of the horrible reality you, the listener, find yourself in 2025, where was I? Oh, we just finished Halloween episodes. And we talked about a number of things. And I think the last one was the New England vampire panic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether we have.
We do the actual history one out for that one, in which people are kind of stupid and can't. I mean, understandably, also because it's the fucking 1900s and people are terrified, but can't tell tuberculosis from vampirism.
Sure.
And of course, we now know there are signs. Vampirism. I just realized I don't want to spoil a recent property I enjoyed very much. Shit, vampirism. You moved to Salem's Lot or whatever.
Yeah, you live on Staten Island and you have goofy adventures. With
Yeah, there we go.
roommates.
There we go.
How about that?
Perfect. But yeah, so thank you to Gabby Gutierrez Reed for that. But we are now moving on from spooks and scare 'em ups to our new miniseries on con artists.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of before the Halloween we did spies, and we're kind of like a hop, skip, and a jump away with con artists now.
Yeah,
but these people lie for themselves and their own profit, and those people lie for country, so it's a little different.
It's very slightly different.
And also sometimes for themselves.
Yeah, depending. We talked about most of those.
Yeah. Regardless, the first of our con artists is Gregor MacGregor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed.
And I believe Jolie is going to do the alternate or the actual history.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. I remembered.
That's a point for Dayquil.
Yeah. Hey, and then in an hour, I get to have my NyQuil. So let's get this show on the road.
I get to have my NyQuil.
Do you just alternate hour by hour?
Yeah, every single hour.
At this point, is that like your cheat meal or?
Yeah.
Oh man. But Joe, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Okay, cool. I would like for you to refer to me, because this is the Thanksgiving episode, I would like for you to refer to me as Joe Turk Lee. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
It only took me like 5 minutes to come up with that. So we got Gregor MacGregor. He's a Scotsman.
If you couldn't tell.
Yeah, because of the name. He's a Scotsman and a liar. He's just a
redundant.
Yes.
Wow.
The basis for his whole life story is that he's just an opportunist. Like he's just gonna hop on every opportunity and just go, not just like go with it, but he'll go wild. He'll go ham, right? So Gregor is a Scotsman. He sort of like bounces around so much. Basically, he starts by marrying rich, right? So that's like first opportunity. And he's just kind of bored, right? He marries rich and he joins the military, and he sort of bounces around to Guernsey and Gibraltar.
Where nowadays, like very rich and bored, like he would be like an Instagram influencer or like some sort of butt model.
Yeah, job's pretty much done once you marry. Like at that point,
yeah,
you're good. You're good to go.
All
like
these suckers marrying for love.
Yeah.
He just sits around and like takes pictures of plants, and like that's his life.
Yeah, he's got a plant daddy hoodie.
Yeah. And so he marries rich and he's bored, right? And so he's one of the first like big lies that he tells is that he says that he was knighted, right? So he goes by Sir Gregor. MacGregor.
A little stolen valor.
So he just like pretends
to be fair, people get knighted for all kinds of stupid shit. It's not just wars.
No, true.
Yeah, like I don't think he ever like explains why he was knighted. He's just like, just call me Sir MacGregor.
Like I'll bet Ed Sheeran gets knighted one day. Like that's how it.
I hope so.
I mean, he's really earned it at this point. There's like Lancelot, Galahad, Gawain, and fucking Ed Sheeran, right? That's
Yeah. Natural line. So yeah, he marries rich, but then like it's a lot of ups and downs. His life is just a damn roller coaster because he marries rich and then his wife dies in 1811 and the family just cuts him off, right? So no longer rich. And he moves to Venezuela, right? And so he moves to Venezuela and he marries another woman and she's just like got the connections. Her name is Josefa. And her cousin is Simon Bolivar. Yes, her cousin Simon Bolivar. And so he's got all the connections, right? And so he like sort of connects with Simon Bolivar and Simon Bolivar wants to like start an uprising. So he connects with him and he's like going to be in this uprising against Spanish forces. Right. And so but it all goes to shit. Right. And so he ends up like on this beach with all of these forces. And he has this hero moment where he like saves all of the forces that are with him. And like, he guides them through Spanish occupied territory and he like tricks them and he finds, I don't know all the details, but he like tricks them into like the swampland. And so he like just has this total hero moment where he gets everybody out by tricking the Spanish.
Very Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. Yeah, like an anvil drops and and so he gets them out. And so everybody thinks he's this total hero. So he gets this like great reputation in Venezuela, right? And so then goes on to this pattern where he basically gets people on his side to like invade these certain areas, right? So the first of the pattern is he goes to Spanish occupied Florida and he talks people into going to Spanish occupied Florida. And he tells them like, you're going to have these big estates and like he just promises these like houses for themselves. Right. And he rolls up with like 200 guys and the Spanish think that it's like this whole ass army. So they just surrender. They just surrender because he just shows up with his dick out, right? And so he's just like he's like dripping white guy confidence.
Figuratively with the dick thing, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe.
I mean,
we don't.
It worked for LBJ, if we're being honest.
So the Spanish just surrender, but then instead of like continuing to try to invade and get the actual land, he just like hangs out and gets drunk.
So it's less an invasion, more of like spring break Daytona Beach, sponsored by MTV.
Yeah, he started the tradition of Florida in that moment.
He's the original spring breaker.
The original Florida man. Gregor MacGregor.
Of course, one of the people in his army was rapper Riff Raff, I think.
Florida man shows up with dick out, gets land, gets drunk.
So he shows up and he doesn't continue to invade. He just like gets drunk and he like declares it. Oh, I have it written down somewhere.
Is it Margaritaville?
Yeah, exactly. We'll say that. I don't remember. It's something like he declares it his own thing and he like makes up fake money and he pays his men in fake money and they're like, where's my big estate? Right. And then in the middle of the night, he just like steals the ship and like dips out.
Republic of the Floridas, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And then he pays them in like Republic of the Florida's money. Like
yeah, this is Republic coin or whatever it would be now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a very dignified crypto name. That's the most dignified crypto name.
Yeah, that's actually true. Probably people, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's undignified about Florida? I can't think of a thing.
Yeah, good point.
Jacksonville coin? I don't know.
Yeah, like ecstasy sweat coin or something.
Tampa Bay parking lot coin.
Yeah.
Crocodile skin coin. So he just steals the ship, dips out, and leaves all of these 200 dudes just like stranded on the beach in Spanish occupied Florida. Just leaves them to be taken by the Spanish, right?
Right.
And so
Jeff
he
Probst
leaves-
showed up and they played, and it was a really good season.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like a habit, right? He does it 2 more times. So he goes 2 more times. He tries to conquer Panama, where this time he convinces 500 men from Britain to go with him to Panama, and they invade the city of Portobello.
Mm-hmm.
Not the mushroom.
They don't invade a mushroom.
Yes.
They don't get like shrunken down like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style.
No.
That's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 5 or whatever number they're on.
17. So they invade the city of Portobello, but same thing happens. Like they don't continue. He just like gets tired and starts drinking. But this one like is like brutal because like again he dips out and he just abandons them like in Panama. But then it's brutal because all of the men that he leaves on that beach, they just execute them one by one. Like they just shoot them all. I mean, yeah, like his story is not just like, oh, like it's so funny he like fucked people over and they were out of money. No, like he like got so many people
a lot of people died.
Yeah,
like
it's not like Enron. It's just like
yeah, like Con Artist I think is going to be a lot of fun as a miniseries. I'm not expecting all of the episodes to have this high of a body count. Just
mm-hmm.
There's
to prepare
listeners. There's going to be like 1 or 2 that are going to have some body counts, but for the most part, it's going to be like, I can sell you the moon.
I don't know why you did like leprechaun voice a little bit. I guess it's not leprechaun. That was more prospectory.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. I don't mean to evaluate your mouth work.
No, I was going for like, I mean, I do have a cold, but I was going for like smooth talking, like sort of Music Man style sales figure.
We got trouble. That's yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got a colony of land that starts with T, that rhymes with T, and that stands for trouble. Trouble for you, because you're going to get executed.
It's our second Music Man reference in as many episodes.
Those things come in pairs. A couple episodes, we had another weird reference twice in a row. I can't. Now I don't remember what it was, so it won't happen again.
It's ephemeral, people. That's it's experiential, you know.
So the big like major con that Gregor MacGregor is known for is he just straight made up a country.
My favorite.
He made up a country.
Hey, bro, if you think about it, all countries are made up.
There you go. You're right.
Get rid of borders. No borders. One world.
You're right. I don't know what I was thinking. So he makes up this country called he calls it Poyais, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he takes advantage of the fact that King George IV was having his coronation, and he has all of these like dignitaries visiting from all of these different exotic places, and he shows up and he's like, yo, I'm the dignitary from Poyais, this area just around Nicaragua, around Honduras, right? And he gives himself the title that he just makes up. He calls himself the Cazique.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Cazique, which means like he presents it like he's the prince of Poyais, right? And people just are like, yeah, checks out. Like everybody believed him And
To be fair, part of me thinks that might work today.
yeah. Especially if you like tell a bunch of like a group of conservative people that like it doesn't exist, or like you know, just have one video that's like it doesn't exist, and then people will go against it. And
it's called the reverse Blazing Saddles. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So he like, in order to like give him some credibility, he like under a pseudonym like writes a guidebook about Poyais and like says that like gold just washes up on the shores and the soil like produces like 3 harvests a year and there are no tropical diseases. Don't worry.
And the book is called Please Colonize Us.
Yes. And so he like presents it to other Scotsmen as like, this is going to put Scotland on the world map, right? We're going to have our own Scottish colony, right? And so he sells plots of land in Poyais to all of these Scotsmen, and then he even goes to the bank and he gets them to underwrite Poyais bonds, and they just like give him 200,000 pounds. And they're just like, yeah, that's a place.
Man, I really wish I was trying to like get a mortgage in like the early 19th century.
Oh my God.
A lot of the episodes of this series, this is the kind of shit that we're going to be talking about for a lot of these.
He even opens like Poyais consulates around the UK. He just establishes it as like a place in Europe. They just believe it's a place. Like by the end of it, and it's like 15 years of this, by the end of it, people like, you can't convince Europeans that it's not a country because it's so well known, because it's like he just gets people talking, right? And okay, and this is like the body count starts to rise again because they start sending off ships of settlers to Poyais, right? And so basically, luckily only 2 ships get out, right? So 2 ships go out and they get there. And by the way, this place is actually called Mosquito Shore.
Oh. And I'm guessing this isn't like a Greenland, Iceland situation.
No.
And I'm also guessing, given that name, especially that whole thing about no tropical diseases was maybe a bit oversold.
Yeah, exactly. So they get there and they just are so convinced that they just think they're lost.
Oh no.
It's so sad. So they get the captain to like just sail up and down the coast looking for Poyais, and he's like, no. And they're like, no, we have to find it. We're here. We're so
gotta
close.
go. Turns boat around.
And and the sad part is like they get hit by a hurricane and then the mosquitoes like descend upon them and they get yellow fever and malaria. And it's not like, John Smith hopping off a ship. It's like old people trying to retire and like people with their families. And it says 2/3 of those people just died of malaria and yellow fever. And they had to like turn around 5 more ships that were on their way. They had to like intercept these ships and send them back because they had so many settlers. And for 15 more years, he kept telling people that Poyais was a place, and he kept selling plots of land for 15 more years. And then he even gets more bonds underwritten by banks for 800,000 more pounds.
Jesus Christ, 800,000.
And in the end, his wife dies and he moves back to Venezuela because by this time, Simon Bolivar has died and no longer, like, he's wanted in all these areas, but then because I feel like I'm saying it wrong, Simone Bolivar died. Simone. Oh, well, I said it wrong 18,000 times then. He goes back, and one of the like soldiers that was in this like raid that he was so heroic in the beginning of the story, he is like a part of the Venezuelan government, and he just like accepts him and like takes him in, and he like dies rich and a hero in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Well, an inspiring tale. Something we could all look up to.
Of just the hustle, I guess.
Yeah, always be grinding, ABG.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the accurate, the true account of Gregor MacGregor. Brian, I heard you heard something a little different out on the streets.
Yeah. I was talking to the man on the street, and he told me that this whole Poyes thing has been sort of blown out of proportion. Because I mean, Gregor MacGregor was a lot of things. I mean, soldier, traveler, well-traveled. He was also the absolute hottest restaurant promoter in 18th century Scotland. Sorry, 19th century Scotland, whichever. So yeah, he was behind some of the hottest restaurants of the period. Haggis Fusion,
sure,
where they just stuff some of the classics of world cuisine into a sheep's stomach and boil it. McLeod's at Stirling, fine dining from Chef Connor McLeod, mostly fried food. Scottish chilies, and the Chateau des sausage wrapped eggs. So great Scottish,
sure.
King James VI. I love this bar and grill.
Maybe that pub from the beginning of An American Werewolf in London. I think it was called the Slaughtered Lamb.
Yes, that's what it was. And of course, there's all his restaurants. There's a sign on the wall that says, "You can change your fate, but no substitutions." Not a good Scottish accent. No,
you can change your fate, but no substitutions.
That's much better. That is Zach does the Scottish accent. I do the Irish. That's normally our division of labor here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to the country of Scotland. Hopefully you're free of the UK soon. So
we support Nicola Sturgeon on this podcast. We love Nicola.
Yes. So when he returned to the UK and really quickly got people talking up his latest venture, Poyes, which was like, they were really selling it as the first Scottish Latin dining experience.
Sure.
So like
it's Scotch Mex.
Yeah, it's Scotch Mex. So like tamales with like wild turkey and like wheat la coche and like a tomato reduction wrapped in sausage and deep fried. Maduros, deep fried. A lot. You get what I'm getting at. It's a lot of fried food. That's Scottish culture. Whiskey soup. But anyway, Poyes was on the lips of sort of everyone in Scotland at the time. The fat cats in Scottish Parliament, to hipsters wearing their bespoke kilts, and just even bloggers at the time, which was short for boy loggers. So that's a fun fact. But MacGregor knew that the best way to sell a restaurant was to create the idea of exclusivity, right? So, he only opened like a few ships worth of reservations at the time. Also, it was in the middle of the Central American rainforest, so very exclusive.
So the precursor to the Rainforest Cafe.
No spoilers. But so I mean, it's a little ridiculous to say that the diners found like nothing when they got there, because they found the rainforest. And
you can't do that today.
Oh no, it's true. But yeah, it was a curated outdoor dining experience. They have like bagpipers taking requests. The prefix menu was about £30 per person, which is a lot at that time. And I mean, bats rarely like got tangled in diners' hair. Like, this was a very nice restaurant. Now, 57
Would they
people,
give you a special cake if a bat got tangled in your hair?
yeah, I'm sure they comped your dessert. Like
the staff would sing to you the hair bat song.
Oh man. I'm 33 years old and I have not set foot in an Olive Garden in a couple years.
3 days.
Yeah. Not since I've been banned. I still remember every word of the Olive Garden Happy Birthday song that they made all the servers sing. So that's fun. But it was a fun restaurant and it was well put together and well managed. Now, 57 people did die while dining there. That is true. 14 choked on fish bones from the salmon crusted trout, and 10 bagpipe related deaths. 10
which would have happened in Scotland anyway.
Yeah, exactly. 10 were killed in a turtle stampede. 7 by David Fincher. 6 maids of milking. 5 soup drownings. 4 tummy explosions, and 1 drowning, parentheses, non-soup. And so, because of all the bad press, from those, MacGregor had to shut down Poetas. And so a year or two later, reopened it as, the Rainforest Cafe. And that is does the Rainforest Cafe still exist?
I think so.
Yes.
They
don't wear kilts there though. So that's bullshit.
No, that's just Tilted Kilt, which is another restaurant I can't fucking believe exists.
Maybe MacGregor opened that too.
I almost went that direction, but I'm like, I don't know if people actually know Tilted Kilt is a thing. Yeah, I
know they've got them in at least both Denver and Chicago.
Yep, there is a Rainforest Cafe in Las Vegas and another one in Grapevine, Texas. Wow. So that's all.
There's one here. There's one in Chicago. Oh no, it's permanently closed.
Yeah. Also, the Google people also search for Rainforest Cafe. Landry's, okay. Planet Hollywood, yep. Hard Rock Cafe, and Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. So that is probably the most predictable people also search for I've ever seen.
In my defense, the Rainforest Cafe here only closed last year. So in April of last year, when COVID stuff was really getting kicking.
How is COVID the thing that did in the Rainforest fucking Cafe and not the entire concept?
Since I have lived here, I definitely passed the Rainforest Cafe building that had the big ass frog on it. Had I known they were closing, maybe I would have made a night and relived the Rainforest experience.
I'm pretty sure there was a Rainforest Cafe in the Mall of America.
I think so too. There used to be one in Denver. I definitely remember going there with my family.
There was one in Denver. Yeah.
Also, I guess like you're not going to do like, if you're doing takeout only because of COVID, you're not going to go to the Rainforest Cafe. Probably. I don't know.
Now, I have never been to Medieval Times. I've been to Rainforest Cafe, never been to a Medieval Times.
Yeah. Medieval Times, I would go to a Medieval Times again if there wasn't a global pandemic.
There's one 32 minutes away from me.
Oh, snap.
But that is the hidden history of Gregor MacGregor and Poyas, and I guess the Rainforest Cafe.
All right, thank you. I guess that brings us to the favorite section of all of our listeners, the plugs and advertisements section.
Listeners, you'll find that the 30-second skip button on your player no longer works. We're in your machine. Well, first of all, you can always write us a letter, leave us a comment, ask us a question at revisionistpodcast.com on the contact page. And you can reach us on our social media, Twitter or Instagram, or just by reaching out to revisionistpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, leave a review on iTunes. A written one is best. I usually say, like, write something funny that was weird that we said in this episode. But, I got all the medicine. I can't remember.
Write your order for the Rainforest Cafe and then, like, call DoorDash like in 2 hours and give them the business.
Yeah.
Tell them your real address. They can send you a paper letter.
Listeners, yeah, actually, tell you what, if you're ballsy enough to put your real actual address in a review for this podcast, I'll write you a letter. Yeah, I'll say I got stickers. I'll send you something.
We will literally write you a letter and send one.
Yeah.
I've got extra stamps. I don't send letters to anybody.
Also, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com.
Oh, fuck, but then they might know our address.
I've already done that. I've sent out shirts with my return address on it. I've since moved. Not for the reason of listeners finding me.
If the guy from You is listening, this is a golden opportunity.
We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/the revisionists, where you can pledge your support for what we do, but with as little as $1 a month. Although I will say, holiday season is coming up, and it's a great time to find a worthy cause to put that money to. That's not us. So, like, find that. I usually have one in the barrel ready to go, and just with baby brain.
You'll think of something. There's misery everywhere, so I'm sure you can.
Honestly, if you're wherever you're listening to this, there are charities probably in your local area helping with Afghan refugee resettlement, and I think you could really make a lot of impact by finding those in your area.
Sure.
But that brings us to plugs. Joe, you have the blog Where the Fuck Are My Shoes on your website. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just talk about how I'm a fuck up, and I feel like that's relatable. So that's my blog.
Love it. Listeners, you'll find a link to that in the show notes, and on our social media. Anyway, Zach, you co-host The Movie Trap.
I co-host The Movie Trap. It's a podcast like this one, except different in premise and hosts.
Yep.
Basically, it's me and two other people who aren't Brian, talking about movies. Each trio of episodes, they release bi-weekly like this show. We cover one theme. For instance, our current theme is sports films, picked by not me. At the end of our trio of films, which each of us picks one, the winner, the person whose movie everybody likes the most, gets to pick the next theme. So that's the idea. It's an excuse to force each other to watch movies. Hence the trap part. We can make people watch whatever the hell we want. So, yeah.
You also did just cover one of my favorite recent horror movies, His House.
Yes, for our Halloween episode, we did His House.
So, listeners, watch that movie and check out that episode of Movie Trap. But I believe that brings this train into the old Judgment Station.
Yeah. One thing about the con artists segment is oftentimes writing alternates and judging between alternates and actual histories is like this thing of like, there's like almost a moral dimension where you have to be like, oh, I don't know how to, balance this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be much of a problem for most of our con artist episodes. I think these are going to be easy alternates to write because it's, crazy, wacky shit, wackadoo shit. But that makes the judging harder because they're fun stories with fun alternates. And it's, just, we're making a change on this podcast. And for a few episodes only, we're going to be fun. I did enjoy both quite a lot. I think my final decision is as a mission of intent for this segment of the podcast, perhaps our lightest ever, perhaps our most fun ever, as just to declare our intent, I'm going to go with one story strictly on the story that had the lower body count. I think that's a good way to get this area started. The fewer people, the fewest dead people. I guess that gives it to Brian because I think several hundred people died on that expedition.
Well, listeners, voting is now open for you on Patreon. That's the other thing. You can buy your right to vote. That was the thing I forgot to say. And check out our Instagram poll. The Wednesday, the 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, for the fucking, I am losing it. What the fuck? For the last round of voting. Jesus.
Yeah. Too much whiskey soup.
Yeah. But Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Like Zach said, this was one of our most fun episodes, maybe ever. And I feel like that says more about history than it does about us, but still.
Yep.
Because Zach and I are generally not bummers. Yeah, that's true. But I think that will do it for this episode. For everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
Yeah, thank you for listening to our Thanksgiving episode. I'm Zach Powers. As always, for our Thanksgiving episode, our outro music will have turkeys loudly clucking underneath it.
I've got the turkeys in studio ready to record. I only use the freshest live turkeys, the turkeys that are, they're not quite good enough turkeys to get pardoned. They did some shit. They stormed the Capitol. What a bunch of turkeys.
They would have got pardoned last year.
Listeners, we also forgot to say at the outset, despite dealing in alternate history, we don't endorse QAnon.
Or conspiracy theories
in general.
Yeah.
So if you've gotten this far and you've been like, these guys think like I do, I
don't know why you'd think a story about the Rainforest Cafe would confirm your belief system.
With these fucking people, I don't know. I never know.
That's true. They could find like a code in it about how like actually this means fucking Teddy Kennedy is risen again.
But have a good time, listeners. November 13th, 1775. soldiers from the American Continental Army seize and occupy Montreal, cutting off the British troops' supply of mid-tempo synthy art pop bands. November 13th, 1982. A boxing match between Ray Mancini and Duk-Koo Kim causes Kim's death a few days later, leading to changes in the rules of boxing. One thing they did keep, all the punching.
November 13th, 1969. Anti-war protesters in Washington, D.C. stage a symbolic march against death. Quite a lot of those participants are certainly now dead, so it seems like it was ineffective. November 13th, 1982. Vietnam Veterans Memorial is dedicated in Washington, D.C. after a march to its site by thousands of Vietnam War veterans after the VA decided not to waste money renting a bus for them. November 13th, 1947. The Soviet Union completes development of the AK-47, one of the first proper assault rifles. The plan was originally to shoot them at Americans, but nowadays they find it's more damaging just to sell them to Americans.